Anastasia Chorna show. My name is Anastasia Chorna and today we're going to be talking about traveling. Those of you who follow me on Instagram know that I spent 7 days, a whole week, traveling. And it was a road trip all the way to Washington State, which is 2 states over from where I am. And I went to Vancouver, Washington, which is right on a border between Oregon and Washington itself. So it borders Portland, which is a really awesome area. I have to tell you, I'm in love with it. First of all, the vegan scene for the vegan restaurants is pretty much amazing. It's not nearly as close as here in Los Angeles. However, there's so much variety out there. And it is pretty fascinating to me that 2 different states with 2 different pretty big cities can lie right next to one another and be separated pretty much only by the river. So if you ever go there, it is fascinating, all of the bridges that you can take to get from one state to another, from one city to another. So if you're ever traveling out there to those states, I do highly recommend checking out Portland area and Vancouver, Washington area. We're not talking about Canada. I haven't been there just yet. He did go with us and he did enjoy the trip because guess what? It is so green out there. Living in Southern California for the past 5.5 years got me so accustomed to very little greenery. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It seems like when there's green lawns everywhere you look and green trees and forests, really deep forests all around you, it just seems so out of place and so odd because it's so yellow over here. Everywhere you look, you see a bunch of dead, yellow, super dry grass and bushes and not that much greenery. It's still semi-green when you're like walking through the city, but all around you are mountains that are pretty much naked and they don't have any forests on them, and it's kind of sad to see. So this guy really enjoyed the greenery, and he did make sure to let me know how much he was enjoying every single moment in the grass because he loves it so much. And we took a lot of hikes there and a lot of trips to different forests and different parks because those 2 states are covered with state parks, national forests, a lot of amazing waterfalls, there's rivers, there's the sea, there's mountains, it's all kinds of stuff out there. Those who know me know that I travel quite a lot. I try to make sure that I'm traveling outside this town, outside LA, at least 4 times a year. It has been hard to travel outside of the country over the past year, we all know why, but I still managed to travel quite a lot to different states and different cities, new destinations. And I feel like with the time that I started actually traveling a few years ago, I have been getting better and better with making sure that my traveling experience, my vacation, is as proficient as possible because you can only travel for so long before you get either tired or overwhelmed, or you're like traveling, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here, I don't know where to do, I don't know where to go. So I kind of figured that I would tell you a little bit about my experiences and how I've learned to make sure to maximize my overall experience, make it better overall when I'm traveling. So when I used to travel, I used to do a lot of driving around, going places, and wanting to see everything in a very short amount of time. So when you're traveling, when you're on a vacation, it's usually a few days, right? Probably a week, maybe up to 2 weeks. But for me personally, I feel like after 7 days, I'm getting tired of the vacation itself. But if it's for you to travel for longer than 7 days, then by all means, you do you. And then when we talk about wanting to see everything, I feel it's really important to ground yourself where you are vacationing at. Because when you're trying to see everything in a short amount of time, in those short 6, 7, 8 days that you are on vacation, I find that I spend a lot more time driving from one destination to another and not really enjoying myself and relaxing and just being present in the moment. So the way that I started scheduling my vacations, whether I am here, you know, traveling here in the country or I'm going abroad, is I'm making sure that I'm kind of, you know, stationing myself somewhere in one place. For instance, when I went to Denmark, the same trip included me going to Norway, and I kind of split it in half. So I stayed 5 days in Copenhagen and 5 days in Oslo. But if you're taking a road trip and you're like, okay, I have got to make sure I visit 20 different places on my way to the destination and then 15 more places on the way back, then it might be overwhelming and you might get tired. But again, if this is what you like, by all means. But if you feel like it gets you a little bit tired and you get annoyed by being in the car all the time, then, you know, you might want to consider trying something new. And I'm only sharing this because this was my experience and I feel like it might be helpful to someone, because I wish somebody told me this a long time ago so that I didn't waste so much time rushing through everything. Another thing that I do when I travel, I try to make sure that I incorporate being in the city and exploring the city with enjoying the nature that that area has to offer. The architecture is so much alike, whether you're going to Portland, Houston, or, you know, Los Angeles, San Francisco, all those big cities, they're kind of the same. There's people who are gonna argue with me on that, but this is just my personal opinion. So when I'm traveling in the States and I'm going to like a bigger destination, like a bigger city, I don't try to spend too much time there, because yeah, it's kind of cool to walk around just to kind of get the feel of the city, because even though they might look alike, different cities might sometimes have a different feel. I make sure that I find different parks, different attractions, smaller little towns that are around the area, like short travel distance away, to make sure that I get the feel of that and I experience the nature. Because chances are, if it's a smaller town, and I'm not talking about the area that is part of, you know, the metro area of a big city, they're all kind of the same. I'm talking about a city or a small town that's going to be a little bit further away from the city and it's not considered part of the metro area of the major city. For instance, Galveston, which is an hour drive from Houston, Texas. It has a completely different feel. It's interesting. It's right on the Gulf. And this time, going to Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon area, what we did is we drove to Astoria. Astoria is in Oregon. It's a port town and it is gorgeous. It has its own history. It's filled with artwork, and if you're ever in that area, I do highly recommend going to Astoria. Look guys, if you want to check that out, you will be so pleasantly surprised by how amazing and how gorgeous that area is. What I do when I travel and how I find those places. I mean, this place, Astoria itself, was recommended by the friend that I was traveling with, but I go deeper when I'm looking for new places to go. If you're staying in a hotel, and hotels usually have a bunch of pamphlets, they have magazines especially created for tourists that you can check out that would have some touristic attractions. But what I like to do personally more than anything, I kind of explore the map. If you open Google Maps and you zoom in into the area where you're staying and all around it or wherever you want to go, you will see just how many gems they're hidden in Google Maps. This time when we went to Astoria, before we went to Astoria, I knew that I wanted to see the Pacific. And instead of just finding a beach to go to, I zoomed in on the map and then I saw that there was a fort. It was Fort Stevens, and I was traveling with my parents, and my dad is a huge history buff. And I served in the military, so I'm always interested in seeing like those really old history related places. I love exploring forts. So I saw Fort Stevens and I was like, okay, we are going there because I really wanted to check it out. And then as I zoomed in a little closer, I saw a different thing, which was a shipwreck. And I was like, what? A shipwreck as an attraction? what? So the shipwreck was actually considered it is actually considered a part of the state park where Fort Stevens is located. So as you drive in, you are able to explore all of those little areas. That is what I recommend you doing if you don't know where you want to go and you want to kind of explore what the area has to offer. You don't have to just go to the city and just see what's around. You can explore, you know, surrounding areas, what nature has to offer. Another thing that we did, I just googled some waterfalls, and turned out that the whole Oregon and the whole Portland area itself is surrounded by like dozens of waterfalls. Another thing that I wanted to share with you guys, which was completely different from what I used to do when I traveled. When I used to travel, or prior to this moment pretty much, I would always make sure to bring food, to bring something that I can cook up really fast. I have this propane stove which I had bought for, you know, camping, but I kind of started bringing it everywhere with me. You know, I thought that by bringing groceries and cooking something up myself, I would save money, but it's really, it comes out to be the same whether you're going to eat out somewhere or you are buying groceries on the spot and then coming up with like a meal or whatever in your hotel or Airbnb. So this time we decided not to bring any groceries with us. We did not bring the stove. We did not bring our regular setup that we would normally bring, because everywhere you go there's restaurants out there. There's different diners and cafes and whatnot, and it's, you know, the prices are not that bad. If you are driving a lot as part of your road trip, I do recommend stopping and just enjoying the view, being present in the moment, you know, because if you're on a road trip, you know, when's the last time you were going to be in this area? When is the next time you're going to be in this area? I do recommend stopping and taking some pictures and just enjoying the views and taking in the fresh air, because if you live in the big city like I do, you're going to be back to the same smog sooner than later, and then you are really going to miss that road trip of yours. If there's anything that you are taken away from this video of me sharing my experience on this road trip, is take your time. Take your time, be present in the moment, enjoy it as much as you can, and don't rush through it. You are not going to be able to see absolutely everything, and that's okay. Leave some of the destinations for the next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you really love traveling and you haven't been to that area, I highly recommend checking out Oregon and Washington. I loved it so very much. If there's really anything that you appreciated about this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Don't forget to subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below about what you like when you're traveling. What do? What you don't do? Where you go? What kind of trips you like to travel? Do you like to take road trips, or do you fly into the area? Do you rent a car? Do you not rent a car? I am here for you, and I want to make sure that you get the best out of this channel. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.